Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Okay, today we're jumping into a truly timeless American classic, published way back in 1925, but honestly, it feels like it could have been written yesterday in some ways. We are talking, of course, about F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby.
Absolutely, and it's dropped right into such a vibrant and contradictory time. The Roaring 20s, the Jazz Age in America.
Yeah.
You had all this economic prosperity, this explosion of wealth.
Right, the parties, the glamour.
Exactly, but Fitzgerald, he just peels back that glittering surface, doesn't he? He shows this deep moral kind of social hollowness underneath it all. It's this brilliant paradox.
It really is. So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack all of that. We want to explore the core themes, get to know these unforgettable characters, and really look at the symbolism Fitzgerald uses so brilliantly.
Yeah, help you kind of quickly get why it's just such a literary masterpiece. Right. Because it looks glamorous, but it digs so deep into the conflicts of that era and why it still tells us so much about dreams versus reality. Okay, so let's dive in. The story, it comes to us through Nick Carraway. He's our narrator. He moves to West Egg. That's the new money side of Long Island Sound. And finds himself living next door to this incredibly mysterious, super wealthy guy, Jay Gatsby. And Gatsby's thing, he throws these absolutely wild, over-the-top parties every single weekend.
Unbelievable parties.
Yeah, but Nick notices pretty quickly Gatsby himself, he's hardly ever at his own parties. Or if he is, he's just watching.
Which is fascinating, right? Because it turns out that whole thing, the mansion, the money, the constant celebrations, it's all focused on one single driving obsession, winning back Daisy Buchanan, his old flame, who is now inconveniently married to someone else, Tom Buchanan.
So everything Gatsby does,
everything, his entire life, this huge, elaborate setup is basically a stage built just to get Daisy's attention, to somehow recapture the past with her. It's this grand performance hiding this really deep, almost desperate personal longing.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about the people caught up in this, the main players in this, like glittering, but ultimately pretty hollow world. First, obviously, Jay Gatsby. Mysterious, sure, but also like fiercely ambitious, incredibly hopeful, all chasing this one past love.
Right. Driven.
Then Nick Carraway, our eyes and ears, he's presented as, honest, observant, but he also kind of stays on the sidelines, doesn't he? A bit detached from all the drama unfolding.
He tries to be, yeah. Then there's Daisy Buchanan, Gatsby's lost love, now married to Tom, who's got the money but seems, well, emotionally pretty bankrupt.
And Tom Buchanan himself. Daisy's husband. Arrogant, prejudiced, racist even, and cheating on her quite openly.
A real termer.
Totally. And don't forget Jordan Baker. He's a pro golfer, Daisy's friend.
Yeah.
And her ethics, let's just say they're flexible, kind of bends the rules on and off the course.
Yeah, she's interesting. And if you pull back a bit, you see these characters aren't just, individuals floating around. They almost represent different slices of the Jazz Age moral world, don't they?
So.
Oh, like Daisy and Tom especially. They really embody that sort of moral decay, the carelessness, the intense self-centeredness that was just bubbling under all that Jazz Age glamour.
Right.
And it's such a stark contrast to Gatsby. His ambition might be misguided, maybe even based on an illusion, but it's singular, it's focused. Unlike their drift, it makes you really question the values of the time.
Okay, this is where it gets really juicy, I think. Because Gatsby is so much more than just a sad love story. It's absolutely packed with these huge, powerful themes.
It really is. And it forces us, I think, to ask some pretty big questions, like what does Gatsby's whole story actually tell us about the core ideas of American society, about the American dream itself?
Let's start right there. The American dream. Gatsby's relentless chase for Daisy, it works as this powerful symbol for that bigger dream, right? The idea that if you just work hard enough, show enough ambition, you can achieve anything: success, happiness, the girl.
Exactly. But here's the kicker, the real critique Fitzgerald layers in. Gatsby did achieve immense wealth, but how?
Right, not through honest hard work.
No. It's explicitly stated his money comes from, quote, fake sources. Bootlegging, likely other shady deals tied to organized crime. It wasn't clean.
So even when he gets the wealth part of the dream,
it's tainted. And ultimately, his dream getting Daisy remains unfulfilled. It's a devastating comment, really, on whether that dream was ever truly accessible, or maybe even whether the pursuit itself corrupts. What does it mean if you have to break the rules to supposedly win?
That's deep. And tied into that, of course, is the love story itself. Or maybe the idea of the love story, this theme of love and, well, disillusionment. Gatsby puts Daisy on this incredible pedestal.
Oh, completely. He idealizes her. She's not even a real person in his mind anymore. She's this symbol of everything he lost and wants back, seen through this super romantic, gauzy filter.
The reality.
The reality's brutal. Fitzgerald shows us Daisy as she really is, far from the perfect image Gatsby holds onto. She's actually quite weak, incredibly self-centered, and ultimately just incapable of living up to the massive fantasy he's built around her.
Yeah.
And that gap between the illusion he desperately clings to and the, frankly, disappointing reality, it's painful. It really explores how we project our own desires onto people, and the crash when reality hits, a tough lesson.
Definitely. And you can't talk about Gatsby without talking about class. The novel draws such a sharp line between East Egg and West Egg.
Yes, it's geographical, but it's entirely social. East Egg is the old money, people born rich, inherited wealth, established families, generations of privilege.
Like the Buchanans.
Exactly. And then West Egg is the new money, the self-made rich, people like Gatsby who maybe got their fortunes more recently, perhaps through less traditional means.
And Gatsby, despite having arguably more money than many in East Egg and a bigger house, flashier parties.
He's never truly accepted, is he? He can buy all the trappings, throw the biggest parties on Long Island, but that old money East Egg crowd, they still look down on him. He's an outsider.
Yeah.
It shows just how rigid those social barriers were, and maybe still are. That lineage, that background, it mattered more than just dollars in the bank. Money couldn't buy him entry into that club.
And underpinning all of this, there's this pervasive sense of, well, moral decay, isn't there? On the surface, the 1920s seems so exciting, so glamorous.
Oh, absolutely. All that energy, the parties, the freedom, it looked like a blast.
But Fitzgerald just rips the mask off.
He really does. He exposes the selfishness, the carelessness, the lack of any real moral compass hiding just beneath that glittering facade, especially through Tom and Daisy. Their actions, their inability to take responsibility.
Their ultimate retreat back into their money.
Exactly. They just sort of drift through life, causing damage, insulated by their wealth. They embody this spiritual emptiness, this lack of genuine values that Fitzgerald saw in that era. And honestly, it feels startlingly relevant sometimes, even now.
It really does. And okay, we have to talk about Fitzgerald's writing itself. It's not just what he says, but how he says it. It's so poetic, so evocative, and just loaded with symbolism that adds incredible depth.
Oh, completely. He's a master of it. And what's so brilliant is how he takes ordinary things, objects, places, and turns them into these powerful, resonant metaphors. They become these keys, really, to understanding the deeper messages.
Like the most famous one, probably, the green light.
The green light, yeah.
Yep.
Shimmering at the end of Daisy's dock across the water from Gatsby's place. It's just perfect. It represents everything Gatsby is reaching for.
It's a dream.
His dream, his hope, like intense, almost obsessive longing for Daisy, for the past he wants to reclaim. It's always there, visible, but always.
Just out of reach.
Precisely. Forever unattainable in the end. It perfectly captures that tragic element of his quest.
Okay, and what about those eyes? The eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, that giant fading billboard in the Valley of Ashes.
Ah, yes. The giant eyes on the billboard looking out over the wasteland. They're so eerie, aren't they?
Totally creepy.
They function almost like the eyes of God, or maybe just society, judging everything that happens below. They represent this sense of moral judgment, maybe, a kind of silent, indifferent witness to all the corruption and decay.
And the place they overlook, the Valley of Ashes itself.
That's another incredibly potent symbol. This bleak industrial wasteland between the wealthy eggs in New York City. It's literally the dumping ground, the byproduct of all that wealth creation.
Right.
And it powerfully symbolizes the social inequality, the moral decay, the forgotten people, and the environmental cost, really, of the whole Roaring Twenties machine. It's the grim reality hidden behind the glittering parties.
So these symbols, they're not just fancy descriptions.
Not at all. They are absolutely crucial. Fitzgerald weaves them into the very fabric of the story to deepen the meaning, to drive home his critiques of American society, the illusion of the dream, the moral cost of it all. They elevate the novel tremendously.
So let's try and wrap this up. When you step back from it all, what does The Great Gatsby really leave us with today? It's clearly much more than just a sad romance.
Oh, much more. It really is this powerful, almost unflinching mirror held up to early 20th century America, showing both the dazzling surface and the deep rot underneath.
The glitter and the decay.
Exactly. And Gatsby's story itself, it offers this really poignant, maybe even heartbreaking lesson, doesn't it? That you can't recapture the past no matter how hard you try or how much money you throw at it.
Yeah, that seems key.
And maybe that true happiness, real fulfillment, it isn't found just by chasing these idealized dreams, especially when those dreams are projected onto other people or based on flawed premises. It really pushes you to think critically about, well, what our own aspirations really mean.
Absolutely. And all of that, the depth, the unforgettable symbols, the sharp social commentary, it's why this novel has endured. It's solidified its place as just an absolute classic, a genuine must-read for anyone interested in literature or America, really.
Couldn't agree more.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to take away. As you think about your own life, your own goals, what green lights are you maybe fixated on? And what deeper truths might looking closely at those aspirations reveal about yourself, about the world around you, or the paths you're choosing? Something to mull over.